Hello guys. Joy Aries, welcome. Lihle, welcome. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. Baby. Hello my people. Hello. Let us see. Ah, okay. So playing music, yeah. Hey man, you guys know today is the 1st of May, eh? Today is the 1st of May. It's a new month. It's a new month, but when I looked at the moon, it must be maybe 2 days late. We had a new moon, I think, 2 days ago, judging from how it looks now. Hello. We had a new moon 2 days ago, but the 1st of May is only today, so that's a bit off tune right there. It's a bit off tune. You know, months go with the moon. They don't go with the calendar that you get from the shop. So the new month was when the new moon was, showed itself. So when inyanga enja ayithwasa inyanga enja iyaqala. We shouldn't be delusional. The new month is the new moon. So it's just interesting that it's only the 1st of May today, but the 1st of May was actually when the new moon showed itself. So when I look at the moon outside, it's definitely not the new moon today. It must have been 2 days back. I'm not sure. But yeah, I thought we should talk about time, months, days, seasons, and events, and how we've kept, or at least historically, our people have kept events. So that's basically like our whole calendar system. Calendar is not just limited to months and weeks and all that. Calendar is everything. All systems of recording events, all systems of recording things. That's calendar. And I thought maybe we would look at it now from a purely indigenous standpoint. Because it just doesn't make sense to me that our 1st of May is 2 days or 3 days or 4 days off the actual 1st of each month, right? And we try so hard to equate our ways of doing things to European ways of doing things. And it harms us every time, So yeah. It's the month of May. In northern isiNdebele, it's uNkwenkwezi. In isiXhosa, it's uCanzibe, which is still uNkwenkwezi, by the way. AmaZulu ati unhlaba. Unhlaba refers to the aloe verox. It has these orange red plumes. Well, I can't stop speaking English because I've got people that need to hear me that will not hear me if I speak my language, unfortunately. And I don't think you're in any position to tell me what to do, honestly. I've explained this before, so let's just keep it chilled there. And if I speak my language, you are not going to understand me either way. So that's redundant, really. It's cumbersome, to say the least. Unhlaba, uNkwenkwezi, uCanzibe, all refer to the month of May. This refers to the month. Thank you, Lilith. Thank you. Unhlaba, uNkwenkwezi, uCanzibe, all refer to the month of May. Month of May is the month in which we find ourselves now. You go outside, maybe let's say next week. Kosi, Sis Lilith, blessings, peace and blessings, peace and healing there. You go outside in the middle of this month, you spot the brightest star in the sky, and I can promise you that star is the Canopus star. Ukanzibe or unkwenkwezi. Now, the name Kanzibe and the name Nkwenkwezi have interesting similarities. When you listen with your naked ear, you may not see how Kanzibe and Nkwenkwezi are the same thing. But when you break it down etymologically, you will see that Kanzibe and Nkwenkwezi are the same word. Kanzibe is formed with 2 words and 1 suffix. Kanzi, Kan, the sun. Si, the diminutive form. So Kanzi is literally the little sun or the little bright light. And when you say Kanzibe, then Ibe is just a noun class, you know. It could be Kanzishe or Kanzibe. So it's the little bright light, Inkwenkwezi or Inkanyezi. Whereas Nkwenkwezi, when we derive Nkwenkwezi in Kwi, it's Kwankwanzi. Kwankwanzi. Kamagugikwa. Kamagujikijwa. Kamagumvaba etile. Kamaguntshinga kakhwazi khwazwa ngabayaziyo. Kamagunkosana. Siyaqamagusha. Siyakwamkelekile Xosi. Ukanzibe and Nkwenkwezi are the same thing. It's the bright star. Because Kan is the sun. And you go to Botswana, you speak to the Masarwa people or the Kho people. You ask them what is the sun, they will tell you it's Kan or Kan. When you make it into the diminutive form, unciphisa eligama lithi Kan. Xa unciphisa ufumana ukanzi. Kanzi means ilangana or ukukhanyana. Camagu Nkosi. So kanzi means ilangana or ukukhanyana. Kanzibe sisihlomelo or isimamva. It's a suffix that we attach to specific noun classes. So we could have kanzisi or kanzibe. It's just 2 different noun classes. Same word. Inkwenkwezi, we know Inkwenkwezi as a star, but if you break it down, it's Kwankwanzi in Kwi. So Kwi is like a group of languages, like Tram, like Trekwi, like Ngu. These languages were spoken in areas that you find Basotho, Botswana, Amaxhosa, Amazulu, Amandebele. So all these Nguni or Sotho-Tswana language groups, they have a strong Kwi presence. So then you will find a lot of Xhosa words, Zulu words, Sesotho words. You find them in Kwi languages like Tram, like Trekwi, like Kangwe. So Nkwenkwezi is the same. It's not an exception. If you look at the word Nkwenkwezi, you go to Kwi, you'll find Kwankwanzi. Kwankwanzi, which means little light. Kwang means to light, to be bright, right? And Tsi is a diminutive, sisinciphiso. So Nkwenkwezi then, kukhanya okunci, the little light. So ukanzibe, the little bright light, or ilanga elincinane. Whereas Nkwenkwezi, the little light. So in essence, these words are the same thing. That is why Amandebele as Zimbabwe will say May inyanga yenkwenkwezi or ngunkwenkwezi dlomo xamaku. And Amaxhosa will say May inyanga kaCanzibe, which is the bright Canopus star. Ucanzibe will signal the next coming season, which is the peak of winter. The peak of winter means the night rules over the day. It's called the winter solstice. So when the northern hemisphere experiences the summer solstice, us here in the southern hemisphere, we experience the winter solstice. 21 to 24 of June, one of those days, you will have the longest night ever and the shortest day ever in one 24-hour cycle. You will have the longest night and the shortest day in one 24-hour cycle. That is the peak of winter. After that, you will not have a night. You will not have a night longer than the solstice. The solstice. So the solstice represents the day where the night is the strongest over the day. So in old times now, these things used to be personified. These natural phenomena used to be personified. You would hear old people then speaking about winter as if it's a person, and about the winter solstice as if it's a battle between the moon and the sun, and the moon overcomes the sun. Do you understand? The moon overcomes the sun. When it overcomes the sun when we reach the winter solstice, which means the night is the longest it's ever going to be in this year. The next winter solstice is going to be next year now. That's why old cultures will always personify the moon and the sun as people. So people think, oh no, old cultures worship the sun. They did not worship the sun. They just explain natural events using, personification. Now you go into December. In December, between the 21st and the 24th of December, or 25th, Christmas, the summer solstice takes place here in Southern Hemisphere, where we'll have the longest length of day on that day, and the shortest length of night, which means on that specific day, the sun is the strongest in dominating the moon. Therefore, the sun overcomes the moon that day. That's why on Christmas Day, when we were young, our parents used to tell us, go and watch the sun in the morning. I remember we used to wake up at 5 a.m. We used to wake up at 5 a.m. with a glass or some kind of film to watch the sun. And they told us that the sun is dancing. But then I understood, old people just personified, these phenomena. When it's the summer solstice, the sun is dancing. When it's a winter solstice, the moon overcomes the sun. But this is part of the indigenous calendar system. So the month of May then is inchayelelo. Inyanga kaCanzibe, inyanga kaNkwenkwezi, inyanga kaNhlaba, inchayelelo kubusika obuzayo, which is going to reach its peak in June. Kwinyanga yekhala. So we're going to look at then this calendar system. We're going to look at this calendar system, not just in terms of months and days, but also in terms of historical events. So I have already started with May, Unhlaba. Why is it Unhlaba? This is based on the aloe plant, especially in the Cape provinces, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and so-called Natal, which is KwaZulu. In those regions, probably more regions as well, the aloe around May towards June will start to plume. It will start to grow this red-orange plume called inhlaba, gesxhosa. This is why KwaZulu and even some Abambo groups like Amahlubi, when they came over to the Eastern Cape, they used the name Unhlaba even for June, because then this plant plumes there. And that's why amaXhosa say uJune inyanga yekhala, yesilimela, sorry. Whereas ikhala, they use July for ikhala. That's my birth month, by the way. I was born ngenyanga yekhala. Ikhala is the aloe ferox. So then when we talk about calendar, we need to talk about calendar based on proven recorded systems from our forefathers. So that's the true calendar. But calendar cannot be just our indigenous calendar because we know the names of these things. We need to understand exactly why May is uNkwenkwezi and why May is uCanzibe. Why is it not May, for example? And also looking at the days of the week. Looking at the days of the week, you have Monday, which is the day of the moon. You have Tuesday, which is the day of Tiw. We have Wednesday, which is the day of Odin, Woensdag. You have Thursday, which is the day of Thor. If you've ever watched Marvel and all that, you know there's a character called Thor there. The day of Thor. Friday is the day of Freya. Saturday is the day of Saturn. Sunday is the day of the sun. So we take and inherit these. And now you hear people talking about isonto. What is isonto? What is sondaha? What are those things? I can isondaha. There's no such a thing as sondaha to us. Because we don't even have the word son. That's the sun most. Isonto is Sonntag, the day of the sun. Come on. That's why we say umvulo, the opening, or umsombuluko, the lengthening. Yeah, uksombuluka is to stretch something, to open it. Ivuleke is sombuluke ivuleke. Ulwesibini, which is the second. Ulwesithathu, the third. Laburaru, labubini, labunne. Ulwesine, the fourth. Ulwesihlanu, the fifth. We number these things. Whereas the equivalent of Ulwesine to this other Roman Greek system, they will have something called Thursday, which is the day of Thor, their god of thunder. The name Thor, by the way, means thunder. So if we were to replace then Thor or Thursday with our own equivalent, depending on where you come from, some would say unamba wezulu, usuku lukanamba ezulu. But that's not how we name days. We name days with numbers. Umvulo ulwesibini, ulwesithathu ulwesine, ulwesihlanu. Labubini, labuthathu, labunne, labuhlanu. And then now Saturday. This is the most interesting name for me. What is Saturday in your language? I know two names for Saturday. Saturday, umgqibelo. Umgqibelo. But I also know another name for Saturday, umshubelo. Remember, ukugqiba is to finish, to complete a cycle, to end something. So Saturday is the end, the closing, the stopping. And this is interesting for me because the whole concept of the Sabbath is literally the exact same thing. Mukibelo kaspedi. Mukibelo kasipedi. Literally the exact same thing. So, umgqibelo, or in a respectful form, euphemistically, sithi ngumshubelo. Ukushuba is to close something, to end something. Mukibelo kasisuthu. Mukibelo, umgqibelo, mukibelo, umshubelo. The end, the stopping, the ceasing of doing things. This is the exact same concept as that whole concept of the Sabbath. Because that's what Sabbath means. Sabbath or Shabbat means to end something, to stop. It actually means to stop working. To stop working. For example, back in the day, when a new moon was spotted, because the moon dies, and when the new moon shows itself again, when it was spotted, immediately, a messenger would be sent to the chief, blow the horn, everyone stops working in the field. It's a Sabbath, literally, because we need to celebrate the appearance of the new moon. Inyanga entsha itwasile. Someone is asking, is it Jewish? Not really. You will realize that all old cultures know these things. It's not Jewish. I mean, I don't even know what Jewish is really, because it's not a really old name. Is it a Hebraic tradition? Yes. Hebraic cultures did observe this tradition as well. So, back in the day then, a new moon would be observed. Every 28 and a half day cycle, a new moon would be observed. And when this new moon appears, immediately the chief, the Lord, Induna, Inkosi, Isbonda, whoever has the highest authority, would be informed that the new moon has been spotted. And everyone who's working in the field needs to stop working in the field. Why? Because the new moon has been spotted. The moon was dead and the moon has arisen. They normally spoke like that about Bagdala, but umafa evuka njengenyanga, the one who dies and resurrects like the moon. The whole idea of dying and resurrecting, it's there in the moon. Every cycle, it dies and resurrects. That's how our parents speak like that. Our parents don't say inyanga iphelile. They don't say the month is finished. Our parents say inyanga ifile. The month is dead. And when the moon shows up again in the sky, you literally see that the moon is there. They say inyanga itwasile, which means it has shown itself again. So when the moon dies and it's seen as resurrecting again, we have to mourn. We have to mourn that moon and celebrate its resurrection. So all work stops in the field. Amakhuba abekwa phansi. Imihlakulo ibekwa phansi. Akusengwa zinkomo. Akulinywa, akuhlwayelwa zimbewu. Akwaluswa mpahla. Akucikicwa mpahla. Akuphalwa zikhumba. Akusetshenzwa. Because it's now the time to observe the resurrection or the re-emergence of the moon. Ukuthwasa kwenyanga. It was a real ceremony. One of the ceremonies we used to keep when the moon resurrects itself, then we observe that ceremony. It was a Sabbath. Sasishubela. Sishubela ini, sishubela umsebenzi. Siyawuyeka umsebenzi to celebrate. But obviously someone has to spot the new moon. Blow the trumpet. What is the trumpet? The trumpet is literally the horn. Could be the horn of Ikudu or Ikude, the one they call Kudu. It could be the horn of some kind of buck, Imbabala, Inkukama, Impofu, or it could be the horn of a bull, Inkomo, Inkunzi. When that horn is blown, it's godlo, asivutelwa, then everyone knows that it's time to listen. And it is indeed why a woman is on a period. She must rest. When a woman is in her period, she needs to mourn. And people say, no, this is patriarchal. You don't understand. That's why you think so. This has nothing to do with men. It's about the woman right now. It is mourning, resting when you're on your period. Women should not even cook when they're on their period. What are you doing cooking? You shouldn't cook. You shouldn't do anything, really. You know, my mom was born in 1955. She tells me whenever we get a chance to talk, she tells me that as a girl, when on her period, she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything at home. Even the father knew. She was required to cover her head. She was required to wear something very long. And after she finishes that period, she needs to wake very early in the morning on the last day, go to the river to cleanse. She doesn't even touch the dish, the bowl that the father eats from, because they understand that she's renewing. There's death in that body. It's literally scientific. There was an egg that was not fertilized, and now the body is destroying itself. The uterine walls are literally breaking themselves down to cleanse and allow the new cycle of life to start. So that women need to go into a state of mourning. A state of mourning when that happens. And it goes along with the moon. Indeed. That's why then and it's about life and death, this thing. That's why when a young child, a girl is called intombazana, a little girl. But a girl who has reached puberty, who has started their period, intombi. Because utombile. Ukutomba, kukujika, ube ngumthombo, is to become a fountain now. Umthombo is a fountain. So when a girl reaches puberty, intombi, uyathonjiswa. Hence we have amasiko like intonjane or ikude. The word kude itself is kui. It means ko, to go into a period. The word kude that Amandebele use, thank you Zim, thank you. The word kude that Amandebele use means to flow blood. Qude, the one who has flown blood, the one who has given blood. Iqude. Hence, when they take ladies to the female initiation or seclusion, bayabathombisa or babaseqhudeni, because then they've reached now a stage where they are a fountain. They're a fountain. You know, I once stayed with abantu basemampondweni, amampondo. And when these people speak, they have an interesting way of speaking. They have a very interesting way of speaking. When a child reaches puberty, bathi uyakhahlela umntwana. Bathi uyakhahlela. And I was like, wow, this is interesting, because ukhahlela, I know it from like trees or plants when they start forming the buds, you know, when they start ripening. It was yakhahlela. So I realized, oh, uyakhahlela, they're ripening now. You see? So going through the period then, in accordance with the cycles of the moon, goes together. Intonjane. Obviously, I'm not a woman, so I've never been through Intonjane. But Intonjane is a school for women to learn about being a woman, to learn the truth about themselves when they reach that stage of actually ukuthomba. What does ukuthomba mean? Don't tell me about the process of ukuthomba, but what the word ukuthomba means. It means ukuba ngumthombo, to become fountain-like. Umthombo uyamkompoza. Umthombo gives water. Umthombo gives water. Therefore, ukuthomba is to be taken through the process. You are now being informed that you have finally become a woman. And this is what's at stake. Now, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of what Intonjane is. I wouldn't know everything because I'm not a woman. I know certain things, definitely. But unfortunately, I can't talk about those things. But what I'm saying is, those cycles of women, just like the cycles of the moon, are death and life. Death and life. Death and life. Like opposite ends of the same coin. One replacing the other every time. The same way I was saying, the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Here in the southern hemisphere, when we are having the most powerful day for the moon, the winter solstice. In the northern hemisphere, they're having the most powerful day of the sun, the summer solstice. And it's crazy because you can feel the moon. As a lady, as Sister Lilith is saying, you can absolutely feel the moon because your cycles go with it. In fact, in one of the languages of Congo, I think it's Lingala, the name for menstruation and the name for the moon is the same word. The moon is Sanza, and menstruation is Sanza. I will tell you, we have this word. This word is ukuhlanza, to cleanse. Ukuhlanza is to cleanse. Therefore, they look at the moon as the agent or the organ of menstruation. And the moon has been, a lot of the time, has been understood as interacting with water bodies. And that's why you have high tides and low tides. And it's very interesting because even when the woman goes through that time, there's fluidity in the body. So in Lingala, they say Sanza for the moon, Sanza for the period of the woman. To purge, indeed. Ukuhlanza, indeed. To cleanse, to remove, indeed. And therefore a woman goes into seclusion. In fact, that's why a man with many wives is going to have many houses. A man back in the day with many wives is going to have many houses. To not disturb these different cycles. When one wife is in her time, she should not be disturbed. She has to be allowed to seclude herself. The man can come talk to her, doesn't even enter the house. This is pure fact. I didn't hear this from, this is fact. A man in all times doesn't even enter the house, speaks to the woman through the window or through the door, or just talk. And then as time went by, our people became poorer because of, obviously, they lost cattle and all that. They were forced to stay in one house, right? In my culture, at the center of the house is a circle, right? It's a sphere. At the center of the house, we have the fireplace, iziko. Iziko is the fireplace. The woman will sleep behind the door. Wherever the door is, the women are behind the door. That's where they will sleep. The man of the house will sleep on the other side, opposite. When a woman and a man know each other, or they get to know each other at night, we call that ukuwela iziko, which means to cross the fireplace. Because when a man needs to be with his wife now, they don't sleep in the same bed. Back in those days, they don't. Obviously, I'm sure there are people who did it, but generally, they didn't sleep in the same bed. So when a man wants to visit the wife now at night time, uwela iziko, which means he crosses the fireplace. But when that woman is in a period, that man is not allowed to cross the fireplace over to that woman's umandlalo or sleeping place. See, these structures were in place because there were so many things feeding into them. It was not just patriarchy or misogyny or lack of knowledge. There was so much knowledge, actually. I see we have one guest. So in Sepedi, when you say Khwedi is the moon. Khwedi is the moon. And tell you something. An old word in isiXhosa is hlonipho for the moon. A euphemistic name for the moon, when we respect the moon. Sithi inkwezi. Inkwezi, which is literally khwedi. Inkwezi, it's literally khwedi. So these moon and sun and stars were more than just elements of the sky to be observed. They informed a lot of activity on the ground. Ngwedi ka Setswana, Khwedi ka Sepedi, Inkwezi ngesiXhosa sesihlonipho, Unyezi in old isiXhosa and isiZulu. Unyezi we still speak like this even today. When you wake up very early, or when you're telling someone that I will wake up very early, you say Zovuka ngonyezi. I will wake up very early when the moon is still shining in the sky. So nyezi, ngwedi, khwedi, nkwezi all refer to the moon, the shining light. And therefore, these things were connected. And that's the women's cycle now. We did not necessarily name days then based on the moon or the sun. We name days based on number because we know one of these days is going to be the last day of this cycle. Umshubelo, umgqibelo, mukibelo. Now, what about Sunday? People ask. What about Sunday? What was Sunday? It was not Isondo, unfortunately. Isondo is not a real indigenous word. Isondo is not Sunday. Well, Isondo is Sunday, but Isondo and Sunday are foreign to us. We don't have Sunday. That's the day of the sun. We don't have such a thing. Now, an old word that has been used to refer to Sunday in Eastern Cape or in isiXhosa is icawa. Awa or cawe. I think cawa is more correct. And a lot of people have fought to defend this word, the usage of the word cawa for Sunday. Now, cawa means come together. That's why in isiZulu you have isigcawu or esigcawini, which means where people gather. Enkundleni basically. Isigcawu and icawa means to come together. Ukubuthelana. To come together as ibandla. Yes, a gathering. No, usonto, that sonto there means sontag. Usonto for Sunday means sontag or Sunday, the day of the sun. Whereas isonto or isondo, as you would have, is the twisted fringes of a blanket. Hence, abantu bethi ukwabelana ngesondo, to share the edges of the blanket together when you're having sex with someone. But sondo itself, it's sontag. It has nothing to do with us. So many people have then tried to support the usage of isondo or sontag as being, I know, you know, it was called cawa. Cawa means to come together, and you don't need a specific day to do that. If there's a ceremony that needs people to come together, people are going to come together regardless. I don't see anything wrong with using the word cawa for Sunday, but it's not limited to Sunday. It's not limited to that. But one thing is certain. Saturday, we saw it as being equivalent to the day in which we stopped everything. We stopped work. We stopped plowing. Amakhuba abekwa phansi, imihlakulo ibekwa phansi. Ulugxa lubekwa phansi. Ukusengwa kuyanqumamiswa. So we had this concept of days and all that, but we numbered them. We numbered them because we know they lead to one destination, umgqibelo, the end. So umgqibelo is the last day. It's literally in the name, the end. So when whatever starts after umgqibelo, it must be something new. And this is the whole concept of everything. The new, when something ends, something else starts. When something ends, something else starts. With the moon, iyafa iphinde ivuke inyanga. Sithi inyanga ifile, it's month end. Inyanga ithwasile, it's a new month. And in between this death and resurrection, we have ceremonies to celebrate. So we would celebrate the new moon. Now, in between the new moon, you have the full moon. We have the full moon. Now the full moon, inyanga ezeleyo, or unyezi even. Now this one is where the moon dance comes in, where we make fire and dance anti-clockwise around the fire. Make fire and dance anti-clockwise around the fire, mimicking solar bodies around the sun. I've seen even videos of people in these Zion churches, and they do the exact same thing. They do the exact same thing. It's almost like they're trying to preserve a part of the old way of life through these newfound ways of doing things. Hey, like you, if you can make that happen, I'll definitely do it. I don't have a problem with that. So then, when it's the full moon, we would have something called inhlombe. Different people will call it by different names. Inhlombe is literally a word that means the crowd. Uhlombe is a group of people. Uhlombe is a group of people. Hence, when you're hearing the cheerings and you know the whistles of those people, and we say uvuhlombe. Uvuhlombe, you're acting based on what the crowd is saying. Now, when the crowd comes together on the full moon day, a dance is done around the fire. Yes, Madi, that dance, that's the dance of the full moon. It's around the fire, and through that dance, we do rhythmic steps, constant rhythmic steps that allow you to tap into a higher frequency. There's a state of complete silence we call A state of complete silence we call is reached when you dance around the fire anti-clockwise. This is a joke, African, but it is said that during full moon, the werewolves are the strongest. So maybe you have some werewolf blood on full moon, you can't sleep. But yes, the moon is strong at that time. The moon is strong at that time. Maybe it's some, you have some memory. You have some subconscious memory. Because obviously we used to have night gatherings during the full moon. We used to have night gatherings. No, we didn't have werewolves, but we would have night gatherings where the energy level is so high, you're able to tap into a new frequency by dancing around the fire anti-clockwise as per the solar bodies. When you reach the level, what does mean? Means death.
Waka.
Means death. So you die. You're completely silent. And one Grikha was saying he left his body and joined with the stars when he reached the I would say when my mother asks me, Ulele njani? And I would say, It's as if I was dead in the physical. But you enter a higher level now of frequency. You enter a higher frequency. You enter a higher frequency, and this allows you to tap into old knowledge. No, all the lives that I've done, I have them. I have all the lives I've ever done. I'm gonna get a chance and I will edit them and then I'll just share those lives. I'll put them on YouTube as well. I'll put them on YouTube from this weekend, yes. I've just been editing stuff. That's why I haven't shared my lives. But I've got all the lives. I think about 12 hours of lives. So I'll separate them maybe into 3 hours each. Then I'll just put them on YouTube. Don't worry. I have all my lives. So they will be there. You will see those lives were crazy. We were doing the most there. But yeah, so then in between the two new moons, you have a full moon. My YouTube handle is Sandile Tugani. Sandile, Sandile, Tugani, Tukina. Tugani. Sandile Wawa Tugani. That's my YouTube. I've got about 1,106 subscribers now. So I should start posting, and once I post, I need you guys to watch those damn videos because I have to monetize and, yeah. So in between the new moons, we have this full moon now, which the full moon itself is another Sabbath for us. It's another umshubelo because the moon is not going to be full again. Remember, we talked about the summer solstice, ne? One solstice is the summer, one solstice is the winter. It's like one moon cycle is the new moon, one moon cycle is the moon dies and the moon resurrects, yes. And then you have the equinox, where the length of the day and the length of the night are equal. That's the full moon. So the moon, the behavior of the moon is a fastened, it's like a faster version of the behavior of the solar system. It's a close-up, mirror image. It's a close-up mirror image. So it moves faster. Let's say it moves at 2 times the rate. I'm not going to go into the numbers. But what we experience with the moon, monthly, maybe experience yearly, it's like the same, permutation. It's the same instance. One happens monthly, one happens yearly, one happens every 7 years, one happens every 700 years, and one happens every 700,000 years. These are cycles If you read up on texts about old cultures, you know after every 700 years or after every 700,000 years, there's something that happens every time without fail. So it's a cycle. It happens every 7 days, every 30 days, 28 days, which is 7 times 4, but it's a cycle. Ayanda, please go back to observe because we live within these realities. We have a guest here, Onel. I don't know. Do you want to say something?
No mkhulu wabe ndifuna ubuza into but ingathi
I don't even know if he's still here. Maybe my volume is low. I can't hear anything. Okay, I think I can hear something now.
uyandiva mkhulu.
Yakuva futhi.
Ndithi basendiphendulekile. Ikhona umbuzo bendifuna nje umbuza.
Okay, what was the question? Ubustil umbuzo. I think Onela is having challenges with network. But okay, if you've already been answered, that's good. That's good. So now, talking about our own calendar, né? There are events that happened, guys. Let's be honest. There are events that happened in the past, in the 1600s, in the 1700s, in the 1800s. And we don't hear much about these events. And I'm talking about natural events, like an eclipse of some sort, a red moon, a blood moon, a flood, a massive flood, a drought, an asteroid coming down. Why do we never hear about our ancestors recording these things? Why do we never hear about our ancestors recording these things? Or I am Nana, ukudlala kwelanga. Well, when we were young, we were told to go out on the 25th of December. We were told to go outside to observe the sun is dancing there. And at night, we were told to look at the moon. We were told to look at the moon that there's a woman carrying a child there. The thing is, that time is a summer solstice time. It's a time of summer solstice, which means in old mythology, it would have been that the god of the sun has overcome the god of the moon on that day. The god of the sun would have overcome the god of the moon. What it means is that scientifically, the length of the day is the highest it will ever be. It is literally the highest it will ever be in this year. It will be high again next year. So the sun literally dominates the moon. And therefore it celebrates through dancing and playing. When we went to look, we used to see stuff, man. I'm going to be honest. We used to, oh, wow, the sun is dancing. I haven't looked at it in years now because I'm probably busy with capitalist stuff. But we used to see the sun dancing, you know. So maybe it's for me to look at it this year again. Luki, yes, I know about 13 months. I know about the 13 months. There's a month, there's a last month, it's usually shorter than the other ones. To balance the days with the cycle of the sun, you know, with the cycle of the moon and all that. So yes, 13 months. There's a lot of cultures who used to do that, who used to have 13 months. But obviously, over time, the Gregorian calendar was sort of like pushed, and yeah, we all use the Gregorian calendar now. All of us, we use the Gregorian calendar. So, yep, there's that. Okay. When things happened in the past, things like floods, droughts, asteroids falling onto the earth, there must be evidence in our cultures, in our languages, in our traditional songs, that our ancestors existed at this time and understood what was happening. When we talk about reclaiming who you are, we're talking about those things. We're not talking about just only hopping onto TikTok trends and doing this. That's not the only thing. You must understand the complexity of the systems our forefathers created and left for us. I will mention a couple of events that took place in the past that were recorded in our indigenous languages, that were recorded in our songs, that still exist to this day. Is the sun, we were told that lidlala Christmas, so the sun is celebrating on Christmas. As kids, we went out to see 4 a.m. in the morning to look at the sun. Some people saw something, some people didn't. But what I'm saying is, beyond any reasonable doubt, thank you, Nondwaiza. Thank you so much. Beyond any reasonable doubt, thank you so much. Beyond any reasonable doubt, it was referring to the summer solstice, which is 21 December, between 21 December to the 23rd or 24th of December. It can be one of those days. Some years, majority of the time is 21 December, but some years it can be 22, 23 and all that. It's never exact. But guys, do you understand what I'm trying to say? If we say, no, let's drop the Gregorian calendar, then we have to honor the indigenous calendar in its fullness. Because the indigenous calendar is not just about days and months, it's about events of the past. Great floods, the eclipses, the blood moons, the locust plagues, the great drought. We need to see these things in language. We need to see them. So in my work, I came across certain things. I came across a couple of asteroid showers or comet showers where stones were falling from the earth, from the sky to the earth. And obviously they had fire. We used to call it inkwenkwezi enchocholozi. Inkwenkwezi enchocholozi means the star with a fire tail. Remember, the word chocholoza means to burst forward, like a rocket. When a rocket is shot, it bursts forward, like chocholos. So the comets that came from the sky to the earth, we call them inkwenkwezi ezinchocholozi. In 1884, there was a comet shower. There was a comet shower in 1884 that was seen here in South Africa. My ancestors, 1884. There's obviously a couple of comet showers. They called that one of 1884 Inchobolozi. Inchobolozi. Because Inchobolozi comes from the word uchobo, the tail. Uchobo, the tail. The comets that were coming down, because of the reaction with the gases and the level of the speed at which they were coming, they had a tail, a fiery tail. Hence they were called Unchobolozi, the year 1884, in reference to the comet showers that took place in that year. And this is the stuff that not even the colonizer will be able to replace. So then when we reclaim calendars and times and seasons, it's not just limited to the equivalence of European counterparts, because that's what our people are obsessed with. Our people are not obsessed with claiming what is theirs. Our people are obsessed with finding the equivalent of the European concept. So if the Europeans have a month called April, we must find the equivalent of that. If the Europeans have 4 seasons, we must find the equivalent of that. If the Europeans have 30 days in the month, we must find the equivalent of that. But there is no equivalent of that, because we had our own established systems already. And that's the system that you need to thrive. Why? Why is that the system you need to thrive? Because that's the system that is engraved in your DNA. So when you tap into that knowledge that has been stored in your DNA for thousands of years, and that is your power right there. My sister Ponza, my sister Mahab, Amago. Yes, Nchobolozi means the one with the tail. The one with the tail. So, Inkwankwezi Enchobolozi or Enchocholozi or Enchobolo. So you can say Inchobolo, which means the tailed one. Chobo means the tail. Uchobo means the tail. Inchobolo is the tailed one. This is a name that's given to comets or asteroids that are coming down to the earth at high speeds. They've got a fiery tail appearance to them. Hence we say Chocholoza. There's a song, Chocholoza. That song is to burst through. That's what Chocholoza means, to burst through, to burst forward like a train when it moves at speed. Chocholoza. Kulezo ndaba, stimela. Stimela esibuye Rhodesia. Back in the day, they used to sing it like that because it was a train from Rhodesia to South Africa, which is now Zimbabwe and South Africa. My mother was born in the 50s, sings it like that. Stimela sase Rhodesia. Hence, as Xhoseni then they say, Inkwankwezi Enchocholozi, the star that has a fiery tail. It's a comet, an asteroid. 1884, that was one of the events. So when we talk then about indigenous calendars, do we think about those things? Do we think about droughts that must have taken place in the past? How did the ancestors record them in the history books? Back in the day when Reverend A.T. Bryant went to what is now KZN and met the native populations there. He met the native populations. Some of them said, Sibuyi sehlenge silulu silandela izintethe. Some of them said, we came down with isilulu, we were following the grasshoppers or the locusts. Isilulu is a basket that stores grain. And back in the day, in the 1700s, it was quite popular amongst Sotho speaking people and Amantungwa. And one would say, Isilulu, oh no, they came down with a spaceship. Hey man, we need to be realistic, guys. Come on now. Think about it. We followed the locusts, the insects. This could be a historical event that led our people to move from one part of the country to another part of the country. This could literally be a historical event. What if it was a locust plague? What if there was a locust outbreak that destroyed the crops? We left because Islulu was empty. We did not have grain anymore. And therefore we moved. Sandile is dead. That could be one event. That could be one explanation. And if you look at it, it is highly feasible. As agriculturalists, it is highly possible that there must have been an event caused by the abundance of locusts and grasshoppers eating crops and forcing people to move from one place to another. It is a high-scale event like that. But people will be like, no, we don't have to think about those things. We came with a spaceship. No, not a spaceship. It's Lulu. It's a basket to store grain. Let's not be ahead of ourselves here. I'm gonna check some of the events that I remember. Some of the events that I remember that were recorded down. Because we need to remember, guys, our ancestors existed. They existed and they had to form traditions, mapa. And those traditions included oral history telling. Think about it this way. Around the fire, the adults were able to share stories of the past with the young ones. Around the fire, the adults were able to share lessons with the young ones. Around the fire, adults were able to create stories to store certain core lessons to the young ones. I learned about the giants that eat humans from the stories my mother told me. Amazim, Amagongong. I learned from there. I learned about worlds with short people, very short people. I learned about those stories of the past. So the oral history, trust me, without it, we are doomed. As abantu abansundu, we are doomed, Shem. Because when you write things down, as much as it's important to write, the way you write things down, you cannot translate what's spoken in the mouth into what's written down. What's written down is the words that were spoken. But what's spoken is the emotion that comes. When you speak with the mouth, emotion is there. When you transcribe what's spoken, you record the words only. You don't record the tone. You don't record the cadence of how those words were delivered. You don't record the speed. You don't count how many seconds the person pauses when they speak. So word of mouth is powerful. Because it carries all this. There's cadence, there's speed, there's passion, there's the volume of the voice. That's why those stories about Amazim, Amagongong, Imbulu, Omantindane, Makhema, Amazimzim, all those stories were very important. You knew not to walk outside when it's dark. You know, my mother told us a story about about a monster called Ayakuhlupa. Ayakuhlupa means, do they trouble you? It's a question. So my mother was telling us that, you know, when they were young, there was a monster that used to go around asking children who opened their eyes at night. When they open their eyes, this thing comes around and asks, Ayakuhlupa lamehlo wako? Do these eyes of yours trouble you? And my mother told us this thing would scoop the eyes out and leave you with no eyes. You know, I believe that damn story. I believe that thing, if I open my eyes, it's going to come and take my eyes out. The dumb thing is that I'm not thinking that if it's really here, it can scoop my eyes out even if I've closed them. It's almost like I need to close these damn eyes. Otherwise, this thing is going to scoop. It will come and ask me, Ayakhlupa lameh, Ayakhlup. We believed it and it worked like magic because you closed those damn eyes and you fell asleep. You fell asleep. Good night, I am Nana. I will definitely post these things on YouTube. Don't worry. Kaiser Rock, Uktwaza. Uktwaza, I had already mentioned it in the previous lives. Uktwaza means to appear. It means to begin. The word twasa means to start. The word twasa means to show up. It means to be seen, you know. Ukuvela. That's what twasa means. Ukala. So when a moon reaches the end of its 28-day cycle, that moon will disappear from the sky. Well, the light will not see the light. The moon is there. I can still see it. But the light won't be emitted to us. So we say the moon is dead. Inyanga, I feel the cycle of the moon is finished. So we wait until inyanga ivele, aka itwase. So the word twasa then means to appear again or to come out into being. Therefore, ukuthwasa kwenyanga is the emergence of the new moon. It appears very little light. The light appears again. Inyanga iyathwasa kanjalo. Inyanga iyathwasa kanjalo. Tell you something, when people dance there around the fire, do you know what happens? The goal of dancing around the fire is to get out of this physical body. Uvele in a different form. Uthwase in a different form. So uthwasa then is to appear, to emerge, and by extension, to start again. Because you cannot emerge if you were already visible. You emerge if you were not there in the first place. And therefore, now you are there, you are beginning again. So as the cycle of the moon takes 28 days, 28 and a half, depending on where you are, how you calculate. Inyanga iyafa, the moon dies, it's dark, and the moon appears again. Iyathwasa. And then it goes through the different cycles, iceba lenyanga, inyanga sele iselwe, all the different phases. It goes to full moon, again, all the different phases, and then new moon, and then again. So that's what ukuthwasa in this sense means. So the year of 1884, in Chakacholo, in Chobolo, there was once a great flood. There was once a great flood called Unogumbe by my forefathers. Unogumbe, thank you, Mhlanga. Unogumbe was a flood that took place in the past. Now I want to get into the name of the flood. Ukugumba is to dig. To dig. Ukugumba, ukwemba, uyagumba when you do that. So Unogumbe then is that flood, the rain that was so deep that it dug furrows on the ground because of how powerful the rain was. It dug furrows. So that's the second event that was recorded in our indigenous calendar. The first one was the year of Inchakacholo, the year 1884, because of the comet showers of that year. Inchakacholo meaning the tailed stars, the stars with the fiery tail. And then there's another year of comets, 1841. You can go online and check this. In 1841, there were comets that were spotted. My forefathers called that year Umka. Umka means the line. When things are in a line, we call them Umka. The line, because when they observed the sky, they saw these fiery stars that were coming down in a line formation. And they called the year 1841 Unyaka Womka or Umka. So you would then speak to your great-great-great-grandmother who was born in the year of 1841. They're not going to tell you I was born in 1841. They will tell you I was born Gonyaka Womka or I was born Gonyaka Wenchaka Cholo. Now, it's important to understand Gonyaka Wenchaka Cholo, what happened. Oh, we had the comet of 1884. Oh, we had the comet showers of 1841. And therefore, another event being the great flood called Unogumbe. In fact, in the Xhosa dictionary, the flood of Noah ended up being called Unogumbe as well. It ended up being called Unogumbe because Unogumbe was the greatest flood. In fact, this flood happened in the 1800s when a powerful shaman called Nqele was still alive. There were 3 years that were called Nogumbe, all of them referring to the flood that's so powerful that it digs the ground, Ugumba. So the year when Nqele was still alive, Nqele being a great shaman of the Xhosa people, Grahamstown called Makhanda is named after him. But also there's 2 more years that were called Nogumbe. It's the year 1856 and the year 1874. There were floods in both those years. And the beautiful thing, you can go and check 1856 flood, South Africa or Eastern Cape. 1874 flood, those years were called Nokumbe. Someone born just before the floods began would then say, that's before Nokumbe. That's how old you would know they are. Then you'd appreciate their age because they were born before the Great Flood. So, talking about then the calendar, we need to go to that level of depth, to that level of detail. Now the picture becomes clearer now. You're not just fighting to have the equivalent of what the Europeans have, which is generally what black people do. Indigenous people, generally, they just want to be on the same table as Abelungu. They want to sit on the table. And I hear some people, no, we just want to sit on the table. And it scares me. Why do you want to sit at the table? As if you don't have your own tables that need to be polished. Polish your own tables. Stop disturbing people in their tables, which they built through blood. Polish your own table. So this is what people do in the name of decolonizing things. You just take what Rome gave to you and you just replace with indigenous names. You must change your entire way of looking at the world. Entirely. The whole. Now, when you think about 1884, you know there was an event that only our ancestors recorded in their oral history. In 1876, in 1856, 1841, there was a comet. 1854, there was a great flood. And these floods were given names. These years were given names because it's the years of these events.
So ke ngokumkhuluwa ingaba inyani leyo bana le yaseBhayibhelini indaba yale flood kaNoah ingaba yenzeka nyani na?
Okay. Well, there were a lot of floods in the past. I'm just going to tell you the truth. There were many, many, many floods, many cataclysmic events. Not just water, fire, ice that killed the world, that killed the animals that used to exist, that don't exist anymore. So yes, there were a lot of events, including floods, including ice, things freezing to death. The world is old. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to something. If you look at the Sahara Desert, you look at the Middle East. If you look, it's a strip of sand all the way through those places. All the way through. From the Sahara, from West Africa, all the way to the Middle East, all the way to parts of West Asia and Asia itself. Asia Minor, Asia Major. It's like an area that's full of sand. Why? It's clear there were floods in those areas. I'm not going to say the details are exactly as they are in scripture, but I'm not going to say there were no floods. There were floods all over the world, even here in South Africa. You see Table Mountain. If you've ever been on top of Table Mountain, you know that there's beach sand there. There's marine sand, sand from the sea. It's there on the top of the mountain. You see how high that mountain, how did the sand get in there? No, like seriously, there's white sand on top of Table Mountain. The whole of the Cape Flats is full of marine sand. The sand in the Cape Flats, it's sand from the sea. How did it make it to the land? Think about it. Think about it a bit. So what this tells us then is that a lot of places were once covered in water at some point. A lot of places were covered in water at some point, and it's still going to happen someday again. To this day, some places are still covered in water. They are hidden. You go to old maps, you see places that don't exist today. They do exist, they're just underwater. They're just underwater. Now, texts from old times texts from old times need a different way to look at them when you interpret. You may hear flood, but it was maybe tsunami. So you need to go back to the old language and see how people thought about these things when they were writing them. But were things covered in water at some point? Flipping Lutely and many other things are still covered in water right now as we speak. Thanks, Bumi. Right now as we speak, a lot of things were covered in water, destroyed by water. Some were destroyed by mudslides all over Europe, all over Africa, buildings underground, old civilizations destroyed by cataclysmic events, just because they've been wiped out of people's memories. Just because they've been wiped out of people's memories doesn't mean they didn't happen. The world, very old, and there's been civilizations that have been advanced way more than we can ever imagine. You just listen to the history that ancient cultures know, the things ancient cultures know, and they know them in the same way, all of them. And you ask yourself, how did these people who are so far from each other come to know of the same things? You start with that line of questioning, you're going to get an interesting result. Go to the walls of these ancient cultures. See the drawings on the walls. You see these gigantic creatures. You see things that look like modern day transportation systems. And you ask yourself, how? What is this? All I'm saying is that there's more to discover than we ever imagined. There's so much more. All these things we call stories and myths and mythology, there's definitely a historical basis to them. So then, when I talk about historical events like the floods and all that, they happened. They happened. Even biblically recorded ones. Remember, the Bible is a collection of different types of writings. Some writings were written in animal skin, aka scrolls. Some writings were written in stone, literally inscribed in stone, aka sorry about that. Some writings were written in stone. The stone today is called Ikwekwe. Ikwekwe is a stone. It's a flat stone. Some writings were written in reeds. Imihlanga, you split them in half. They become like a book. You split them in half and then you merge them together. That is the origin of paper. Papyrus is reeds that are split in half to become something called Ikeba. That's paper. So when you look at things like stone writings, those are the most earliest forms of writing. In fact, the oldest form of writing is here in South Africa. So those stories of old, when they merge together, they give you what is called Bible, which comes from the Greek word biblio, which means book. Book itself in the Bible is called a sefer. Sefer is sipalo. Anyway, I don't want to digress. I was talking about the floods that were recorded by our forefathers. This is my challenge then to people who say we must have our own indigenous history. Indigenous history then dictates that we must look at everything in the most original way, which is our forefathers' way. We have enough knowledge. We have enough knowledge to make it teachable to our own children. When I was at school, I was fortunate enough to learn from people who had knowledge about things. Today, when I look at some of the kids who are being taught in their mother tongues, and they can't even name the months of the year in their mother tongues. January is January. I'm like, so this is your mother tongue now. January. It's your mother tongue. No. That's not a good way to go about it. Let me just read some of the questions here. Um, where do Xhosa people come from? They come from here, most like every other South African. Xhosa people are a combination of many groups of people who came together, like Zulu people and Sotho people and Tswana people and Venda people and Tsonga people, Amahlubi, Amabhaca. These names we call ourselves by are nations. These nations are formed by groups of bloodlines that came together under one king or one chief, or even the names kings and chiefs are gross injustices to refer to our leaders. Under one khosi or inkosi, kumkani or ikengeba. Maybe you're asking where do Xhosa people originate because you are worried about that whole thing of West Africa. No, we don't do those things here. We don't entertain those nonsenses of Bantu migration and all that. Those things are just bases. They're just bases to justify taking land. So you need to teach that the people you took the land from actually were not there, but they were there for thousands of years. And then you need to teach that, okay, they were there, but they were not originally from there. And when it's proven that they were originally from there, you also change the story that, oh no, these people are actually not fully human. They were half animal and half this and half that. Do you understand? So all these things of Bantu migration and people who migrated in this place, I don't have time for that. It's a theory. It's not truth. And secondly, you don't leave your home, go and make theories about other people who already know who they are. So amaXhosa then, Gabantu, straight. And that's enough. When you say, Ngumtu, Ngiwumuntu, Kimutu, that is enough because that's how Southern Africans refer to themselves. Whether it's Ka, or whether it's A, whether it's Kwi, whether it's Kwe, whether it's Twa, whether it's Ntu, whether it's Tu, we all refer to ourselves as humans. And it ends there. It ends there. So I was saying then that now that we've stopped oral history, now, we write things down. Why is it that we don't know anything about ourselves then? If oral history was so primitive, if oral history was so dumb and so backwards, now that we are writing, why is it that our people don't know who they are? It's very easy. You can just open a debate in any platform. Who are the South Africans and where do they come from? You will see people losing their minds there. Oh no, we come from Ethiopia. Oh no, we come from West Africa. Oh no, we come from Asia. They never agree on anything. But 300 years back, you go to any village in this country, whether in Limpopo, in what is now the Eastern Cape, in what is now Northern Cape, you ask those people there, bantu bakwaCele, ningobani? You will understand why I say this so-called writing and all of that has actually made our people much dumber. These writings have made our people much dumber. The art of writing itself is not foreign. We are the inventors of that. But the methods of writing now mean that you firstly write, and then you need some publishing house to approve your writing and want to sell it for you. And therefore, still, foreign entities have power to decide whether you can be published or not, majority of the time. And you must then reference some kind of academic scholar of probably European origin because academia itself is European in essence. Do you understand what I'm saying? That you are not fixing the problem, you are treating one symptom. So we can write all we want, but if the contents of what we write are based on the wrong basis, we are screwed. We are screwed. The lives are going to be posted on YouTube, guys. The lives are going to be posted on YouTube. I'm trying to read some of the questions, I'm actually not understanding. Slap chips, any education on buy catch? Oh, buy catch, suit. Oh, no, oh, buy. It's a clan, right? Abantu bakwa buy. Abantu bakwa buy. It's a clan. I'm trying to find the words. They are mostly closely related to about the Mvulane people and the Amavundle people. The Amavundle people are a Xhosa speaking group of Basotho who are Bafokeng, Bamutle. Amavundle are a Xhosa speaking group of Bafokeng. They are called Bafokeng Bamutle. Even today, when they are referred to in isiXhosa, they are called Bafukweni. Bafokeng Bamutle. And therefore, in the Eastern Cape, they've been here a very long time, since the 1500s. Since the 1500s, Amavundle have been here a very long time. Now they've gone deep, my sister Lily. They've gone deep. They are deep in the Eastern Cape now, properly. Like, they're proper Xhosa now. A lot of them have even lost the Sotho elements, some of them. So, Bafokeng Bakwamvundla, or the Bafokeng Bamutle, have really strong relations with the Bai people and the Mvulane people. Now, Bai, Msuthu, Keche, Kwacha. Nyoke mnyama ecanda ziziba. Now, when you say Keche is a hawk. It's a snake. It's a bird. A hawk. Gwaca is a word that means light brown in color. Gwa means brown. Little less. So when you say gwaca, it's light brown in color, which refers to the color of the hawk itself. And then they are called inyoka emnyama ecanda iziziba, the black snake that moves from whirlpool to another, that moves from lake to another. So the Bai, Keche, Msuthu, nyoka emnyama ecanda iziziba, they are closely related to Amamvulane, the Mvulane people, and then the Bafokeng Bamutle. Now, if you do deep research on these people, some people dispute that they are the same as Amavundle. Some people want to say that the Amamvulane came and joined the Amavundle. The Amamvulane, some people say, were actually Mapulana. I'm not going to get into those debates. But if you want to learn more about the Bai people, there's a book called Zemka Inkomo Magwalandini. It talks about how to recite some of the clan names and the relations between these groups. Zemka Inkomo Magwalandini. It's there online in PDF. There's another book called Imbumba Yamanyama. Amanyama are the scrapings that fall off the skin. So when you are cleaning the skin, kauphala iskhumba, to where you are dressing, you're making the skin nice, there's little scrapings of flesh that fall down. When that flesh comes together, it's put together. Alone, it looks like little pieces of flesh. But when you put that flesh together, it forms a big ball of leather. We call that Imbumba Yamanyama. So there's a book called Imbumba Yamanyama. There's a book called Zemkingo Magwalandini. You can check out those books. But you can always also find like what are Facebook groups of these clans. I think that's also another good way to learn. You find a Facebook group of a specific clan, so you check Bai Keche group, and then you join the group. You will hear it from the horse's mouth. It's always best that way. Let me see if there's any other comment that needs my attention. My brother, please repeat your question. I didn't hear that question. Trust me, I didn't. If you could just repeat. A lot of men from the Eastern Cape have this cataract issue. I wonder what's happening. My eye. Well, it's not blind. My eye can see and all that, and it's still quite healthy. That's what the optometrists say. But this thing began when I was still at university. It's definitely ultraviolet light, artificial light, blue light that's emitted by the screen of the laptop. I spend an extremely long amount of time in front of the screen for years now, for a very long time. So, yeah, I just need to go and get it sorted out. It's not affecting my sight. I've been to the optometrist. I use glasses, by the way. I don't even know where they are now. My glasses have a anti-ultraviolet light feature, but I don't like glasses, so I use them when driving and when working on the laptop. But yes, it's ultraviolet light because of laptops and then close proximity. They emit so much blue light into the eyes and it harms the eyes because it's UV rays, ultraviolet rays. The eye tries to protect itself by growing a membrane, and it looks bad. And sometimes if, let's say, you didn't get much sleep, it may be painful as well, but it's not the same as cataract. Now, cataract is an actual form of blindness. That one has to do a lot with the food, the things that people consume, and also chemicals, and just the environment is just not conducive. Just not conducive at all. All right. The Zuma clan, absolutely. The Zuma clan, they are Basotho. They are Basotho originally. I heard that there were a group of Bakhatla. Abantu bakwaZuma. I heard there were a group of Bakhatla. So, I mean, you can hear the name of the place, Inkandla. Khatla. Yeah, so yeah, but the Zuma people are definitely Basotho in origin. I mean, you would see a lot of Abakwamazibuko who are already Basotho of Matsibuo, Basotho of Matsibuo as well. So yes, and then someone asked about Bavundle, Amavundla. I don't know. But what I do know that Amavundle are originally Basotho. They are Bafokeng, without any doubt. And they've been in the Eastern Cape for a very long time. From the 1500s, at least, they were already in the Eastern Cape. So that's a very long time, eh? But the crazy thing is that a lot of them can still speak Sesotho to this day. They can still speak Sesotho to this day. Okay, I wanna now answer the questions, ne? I'm gonna answer the questions, but I want to go back to the topic that our indigenous history, indigenous calendar, indigenous way of recording things is intricately linked to oral history. So you can write about things, as one of the commenters did say, you can write about things, but you can't write about the tone of saying things. I've just realized it. I've just realized that sometimes I read about these things, but the tone is completely different. So I'll read about a word or a group of people, thank you, Nondwaiza, and then I go tell my mother, Mom, look at this. This is what the poem is saying, the traditional poem. And my mom is like, no, you don't pronounce it like that. You pronounce it this way. And then I realized, damn, I have so much knowledge, but I still need to be corrected by an elder who knows really what this is. Do you get what I'm saying? So writing is good because at least you have a basis, but you need that oral element because that is the truest form of this knowledge. And the oral history dictates and requires that we know our languages in full depth. Full depth. We say, when we are appreciating someone, when you're saying thanks to someone, we would say Mazi enetole, which means a haifa with a calf. To the simple ears, this is a useless saying. A haifa with a calf What does this mean? Imazi enethole. What I'm saying to you is that imazi enethole iyehlisa xa itsalwa ibele. So a heifer that has a calf will bring milk when you pull the nipple because it has calves. So it has milk. You can milk it and it releases so much milk. So when I thank someone who keeps on delivering, I would say, "Ow, mazanetol," which means you've acted in a way that I expected because you are like a heifer that has calves and you always bring forth results. But if you read it in a book without understanding the context, you're gonna miss it. So you must read, but also understand the context. And the pronunciation comes with that. It's so intricate. You can't drop the old way of doing things just because now we are writing. Because if writing was so good and so powerful, why are we so stupid? We're way more stupid than our ancestors. I'm sorry, but we are dumb, man. We are the dumbest generation ever. Look at us. We don't have cows for the most part. We don't have sheep. And we are going around looking, hey, look at us. We are lost. We are a lost cause. Come on, guys. I'm just speaking the truth right now. It's just pure truth. Inane truth. Oh, no, we are educated. We have degrees. No, they can just change the rules. I mean, they've done it so many times. Firstly, they say, no, you guys are not educated. You're not getting jobs. And then you get educated. Oh, no, you guys don't have experience. And then you get experience. Oh, now the industry is saturated. It's a game. We need to go back to what we used to be. I was talking earlier today about how all these new concepts are we already have them. I was talking about portfolios, investment portfolios, asset management, because we're driving past we're driving past a group of cows with a shepherd. And I was saying, you see, these shepherds, a lot of them are not even from here. They come from other places like Lesotho and stuff. Because they're so good at what they're doing. They're specialist shepherds. They come here, they're given places to stay, they're given accommodation and all that to take care of the cattle. And I'm saying this is so much equivalent to the modern concept of asset managers. Your Alan Gray, your Coronation Fund managers, your banks, they manage people's assets for them. It's like a shepherd will go and manage your cattle and your sheep and all that because they've got specialty in that. And I'm saying if Abelungu would learn the art of being shepherds from these lowly shepherds you see today, if Abelungu would learn that art and become shepherds and master it, before you know it, Abelungu would economize this whole damn thing and use rating systems and just control and regulate it. Just that they have training institutions where they train shepherds and they have licenses to be shepherds. All of a sudden now, they have an entire board of qualification on who's supposed to be a shepherd, and they put market value to it and what's the starting salary if you went to a particular institution. They would literally package the whole thing, take it from us, and we'll be left with nothing like every other time they've done that. Being a shepherd, this is our second nature. We've done it for centuries, for generations. But if they would learn just enough to understand how intricate it is, they would take the whole thing, form institutions, camps to teach people how to be shepherds, create ranking system, create licenses, create boards of qualification, and all of a sudden, boom, you are out of the ecosystem. And then they would create a market for that. You find that Jaco van der Merwe is a shepherd with 3 years experience, went to this institution of being a shepherd and has a level 3 license. And the requirements for him to be a shepherd at your farm, you need to provide accommodation, this type of car, a Fortuner Barkey, blah, 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 Ford Barkey, blah, blah, blah. And then, boom, you poor little Mntu Onsundu is taken away from you, like everything else. I was saying just today that this is what they did. They take the concepts we already have, like Isbaya, Bushandi, where the animals stay. That is a portfolio. It has cows, one financial instrument. It has sheep, another instrument. It has goats, another instrument. There's different types of things. That's your wealth. So your wealth is stored in the cows. The cows are not for food primarily. They are for wealth. They are for healing. That's why in my culture, when a child is born, an illegitimate child is called Unyana Wesango. Unyana Wekhandi. Ikhandi is the entrance of the kraal. At the entrance of the kraal, you take this child there. That's why some people say it's the traditional DNA. Umntwana wekhandi is the legitimate child of this bloodline. And how do you then give them? How do you give them that assurance that they're the legitimate child of this bloodline? You take hair from the cow called inkomo yobulunga. You take that hair, make a necklace of that hair, put it around the neck of this child. The child now has claim and right to the property of this bloodline. And the property of this bloodline, these cows know this child and they will not harm this child. The healing of this child is in this cow. The well-being of this child is in this cow. So for us, wealth and health, prosperity and generational continuity were one. No, they're not going to do that now. They will take wealth, put it in a separate part of the bank. Health, put it in a separate part of the bank. It's the same bank, it's Discovery, but they will sell medical aid now. Then they will sell this side. Then they will sell this. That's not how we did it. We had the kraal, and in the kraal, there's specific cows that are for specific reasons. We know from this cow, we don't slaughter. This is the cow that represents the property ownership of the bloodline. And therefore, from this cow, we only take hair to use as necklaces for when a child is too sick and the child is not well in health. We come and bring them to the kraal and link them up to the property of the bloodline, to the great-great-great-grandfather's cows, to say, this is one of your people. Why is she giving us difficulties in wealth? You didn't have medical aid at that time. You had an ecosystem that communicated with each other. But now they come like, oh no, there's Discovery. No, you just need medical aid, eh? Just come get our medical aid, man. You get that medical aid, you will pay for it for the rest of your life. And I'm not saying it's wrong. Please don't get me wrong. I'm saying your system will die. They'll come replace it with their system, which takes from you and feeds into them. They take your system, economize it, commercialize it, package it, and resell it to you. You know, cow dung, ubulongwe benkomo, which we used for a very long time to plaster houses and floors. You know that thing is very good, eh? By now, if we are so advanced as a generation, by now we should have some kind of cement or flooring thing that's made out of cow dung. Why do we not have that? I mean, we are so advanced, most likely. We are better than our ancestors. Why do we not have cow dung based, products for the flooring of floors? You see these lodges that they use grass to thatch them. They use grass. I can promise you the companies that thatch those lodges are not owned by. But we are the ones who've been thatching here. We're the experts at it. So if we keep on looking down on our indigenous systems, I can promise you 100% they will take everything and you'll be a slave and there'll be nothing you can do about it. They'll take even your names, even your last name. You'll be John alone in 50 years' time. We will be the ones left as John and Arthur, because even John is actually not, and it's not their names. They took them from other cultures. John and Michael, those are not English or European names at all, actually. They take Baba. They live on the fatness of the earth through a sword. And we don't understand that. We think this is a game. We think this is a game. So indigenous systems require that we update this thing. We update our software here. Because our software is not updated. It's very old, shame. It needs an update. We are using an old version. It needs an update. You must learn about our forefathers. We must learn about our forefathers, how they used to think. I once came across a conversation between two indigenous people. Okay, one of my subscribers is asking if I have a WhatsApp group. I do have a WhatsApp group. But the WhatsApp group is only for subscribers. So I will need you guys to send me the numbers. Only subscribers. On that WhatsApp group, specifically, the focus of the WhatsApp group will be to share resources and how to speak the languages. Like the details that are not really possible to teach on lives and on videos, I'm going to share those details on the WhatsApp groups. It's very important that we do that. But I can only do this for subscribers. Kamagu, but don't worry, I will post these lives. All my lives, they are going to YouTube. Next week, I'll post all of them to YouTube. All of them. As long as you're going to watch them, we are good. So if we are then so smart and advanced, how is it that our ancestors knew themselves better than we do? They felt much better about themselves. They were so confident. They could face anything. Our ancestors faced bullets, man. They faced bullets. Have you read about how our ancestors felt about bullets and guns? What they thought those things were when they first saw them? They thought those were sticks that used to purge out thundering sounds. They thought those were sticks that had little balls that could kill you from a distance. They couldn't describe it, but the way they described it for me made so much sense. I came across a record of a man who was involved in the battle of Umatiwana in Umpolombo. And in that battle, they fought with a side that had guns and horses. They didn't know what those things were. That specific group didn't know what horses were. That group didn't know what guns were. They thought these were half men, half animal creatures who had sticks that released thunder from the mouth. And they were scared. But do you think they turned back? No, they went forward and fought because they believed in this cause so much. And these are the people. These are the people who gave birth to us, man. People with a mindset of not turning back. People with a mindset of holding on to what they know works. And we are not that. We are not that. We are the weakest link in the entire existence of our forefathers. We are weak. And until we face that truth, that we are weak, then we'll be able to correct the problem, which is this, it's upside down. And obviously, we didn't just be born and become weak. There are mechanisms in place to ensure our continued weakness. And one of those mechanisms is to take what is ours, repackage it, and send it back to us. Alcohol, for a good example, and I'm not saying anything about alcohol. I'm not saying drink or don't drink. It's none of my business. But the way it was introduced to us, it was a weapon. It was literally a weapon for us. It was not for fun when it was introduced to us. To steal lands, alcohol was introduced. To take lands. And so our obsession with alcohol and linking it to fun is absolutely discombobulating. Thank you, Gaza. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm going to put you guys on the WhatsApp group once I receive your numbers. To my subscribers, I'll put you in the WhatsApp group once I receive their numbers. The WhatsApp group, the focus is indigenous languages. We'll deal with Kwe. languages. We'll deal with two languages and show you exactly why this is exactly the same thing. It's literally the exact same thing. Que and do, same thing. Scientifically proven and linguistically, culturally, and all that. Absolutely, our ancestors stood their ground. Well, if they would be woken up, our ancestors who lived in the 1600s and 1500s, if they would be woken up to see us now, they would be so confused. But what is this? This is us. Because they knew who they were. I once came across a conversation between a convert in the early 1900s and then a traditionalist. So they were called Amaqaboga, the converts, and Amaqaba, the traditionalists, the one who was smearing clay on their faces. The way the traditionalist sees the world is revolutionary. Like he doesn't, he is so strong-willed, he is so strong-minded that you can see this person was not broken. He was born in a system that works, an indigenous system that works. The way his views are so strong, his line of questioning to the guy who's a convert, it was just like completely mind-blowing to me that, wow, traditional people actually had a basis. They had a basis of understanding the world. They had a system of understanding the world. A system of understanding the world built over thousands of years. So they could not have broken easily. It's not a book, it's an article. It's an article but by Bishop Mabona. Remind me, I will share it in that group. Ne? Article about Bishop Mabona, one of the first bishops, I think, of the Catholic Church. He was talking about his childhood and about the old gods like Unamba Wezulu, Unamba Zulu, the equivalent of Thor, and Uhobe, the messenger. Please remind me, I will share it to you. It's a little article. It talks about Embo and Kwakama, so-called Kemet. So coming across these snippets about how our people just saw the world in a pure indigenous way. For me, I've never experienced that. I was born in a world that's already riddled with white supremacy. So I've never lived in a world that's purely indigenous. I couldn't. Even if I thought I had, but I couldn't. Because my world was already poisoned. I was born in it. So to come across a group of people who had not been touched, because apartheid had not started at that time, and there were areas that white people had not reached, even in the early 1900s. And people who had come from those areas, you could tell by their way of thinking, they are completely detached from any mindset of servitude. And that is the biggest thing. Indigenous people who have been poisoned have a servant mindset. They have a servant mindset, and that's the problem. So you need to undo that. You need to absolutely undo that. You undo that by knowing that it's undoable to begin with. And by actually realizing that, we were born as slaves. The child of a slave is a slave, guys. Come on now. Child of a slave is a slave. If you need someone to tell you that you're free, you are not. Trust me. If you need someone to remind you of some freedom day, you are absolutely not free. Trust me. So that the reclaiming of indigenous systems entirely is at the core of everything that we must do for moving forward. Reclaim the languages, reclaim the way of thinking, reclaim the calendars, go back in time, understand how our ancestors recorded things. Because all you may need to do sometimes is to tap into what's already within you through song. Why do you think when we sing certain songs, you suddenly feel a rush of energy and ready to do anything? You're ready for it all. Why do you think when people are angry and protesting, they sing specific types of songs, and those songs invoke some kind of subconscious memory? Because that's how we store this knowledge. We didn't need to store some of these things through books. We had to store it through vibrational energy, song, ingoma. the thundering sound. And when we sing these songs, it's not just songs, we are tapping into a stored memory. You will see when you learn these languages of old, these old indigenous languages, you will realize, no, man, this thing has already been within me. You get taught the basics, everything comes back. Everything comes back. It makes complete and utter sense. So guys, it's a big project. It's a big project and there's no formula about it. But everything needs to be centered around us. Our existence needs to be centered around us and our becoming. But to become, you must unbecome. Because you're already born into a world that has set rules of how you must be. And if you're going to be stuck in that cage of how you must be, into that box that you must tick, that, no, I tick this box, then you are a slave. Because you are in a box. They give you forms to tick boxes. What nonsense is that? I can imagine my ancestor in the 1300s ticking some dumb box. No, he's going to take his damn weapon and deal with you. Why should I tick a box? Am I yours? No, I want to add you to the database. Whose database are you adding me? I'm nobody's property. So it's a radical thing. And if you are a coward, unfortunately, you will have to undo that. That's why my bio says unlearn, learn and grow. You have to unlearn. I have to unlearn. We all have to unlearn. It's scary, but trust me, it's worth it. It's worth it. So our indigenous calendar systems then speak to aspects of life that we haven't even thought of. Speak to aspects of this world we haven't even thought of. We think what we learn at school, geography and all that are complex. You have nothing. They have nothing on indigenous systems of recording events. You know, when a child is born, because they were not born in hospital back in the day, that child is taken to see the sun first thing, or the moon, depending on the culture I come from. They are introduced to the sun and to the moon. That child is taken to the kraal to meet the continuity of the family, of the bloodline, the cows. If it's a firstborn daughter, already the role is clear. All the other siblings will swear by her, aka mafungwashe, kufungwa yena. The whole bloodline swears by the firstborn daughter. To such a point that even the man's name is updated when he gives birth to a child. The man gives birth to a daughter, the name is updated. There's a prince of Amaxhosa called Maqoma. That's his name. But when he gave birth to a daughter called Taselo, his name was updated to Sotase. Hey! Because that entire nation now will swear by the daughter of Prince Maqoma, Taselo. So when that daughter was born, already there's a blueprint for her. When the firstborn son is born, inkulu, there's already a massive responsibility there. And in the hierarchy or in the system of the family, we know where the son, when you go to the kraal, there's different types of cows there. There are cows that give us milk, but the milk needs to be stored in certain ways. Not all milk goes into the same storage systems. Certain cows give us milk to be stored in the milk sack. Inkomo zemvaba. Certain cows give us milk that will be stored in the gourds. Inkomo zoselwa. Then the firstborn son is known as the son of Inkomo zemvaba. The cows that are the claim of the firstborn son, we know that the milk of those cows goes to the milk sack. Whereas the middle child, the milk of their cows goes to the gourds. Uselwa. The firstborn child, the lastborn, is known as the son of the cows of the intestines. I'm the lastborn at home. Guess what my mother used to call me? Utunjan, which means my little intestine. Umatumbu, the intestines. This is because the lastborn son is known as Unyana wenkomo zamatumbu. I just explained the birth relations between siblings. Firstborn daughter, everyone swears by her. Firstborn son, illegitimate child, illegitimate child. There are systems in place for these things. And now you hear people talk, oh, my half-sister this, oh, my half-sister that. That is absolutely crazy concept. What is half-sister now? So what is the other half if they are only half-sister to you? What is the other half? Half what? That's how dumb we have become. We don't even question the things we inherit. Oh no, that's my half-sister. There is no such a thing as half-sister. But obviously, you're not going to know these things if you've been detached from your indigenous systems. Kumkani, yes. Tunjana. Ntondo. Umtondo. You know, umtondo is something that extends from something else. Umtondo is an extension of something. That's why the child of the actual sperm of a person is known as umtondo walomtu, because that child is a literal extension of that person. So umtondo, as the last born, almost like a tail, is the end point of this man's bloodline in this generation. Umtondo. I am umtondo of my father. The umtondo katata. Because I'm the last born boy he ever had. He will never have another child. He's 76 years old now. He's not having another child. I'm his last born. So I am untondo and untunjan. Whereas his firstborn son was inkulu, or unyana wenkomo zemvaba. And all us as his sons, because we are legitimate children, well, I am a legitimate child born in the marriage. I am the son of Ikhanti. Without having done anything, all these labels are mine. All these honors are mine, because the system is already set in place by our forefathers. The system is already set in place by our forefathers. You are born into a system that works. But when that system is broken, you are born into a broken system. And therefore, you become a slave forever. Guys, please subscribe. I'm open. There's a WhatsApp group for subscribers. We are learning these languages. We are learning this history. I'm sharing books and resources. I'm going to drop off now. Tomorrow, I have a lot to do, but I'm going to go live again. All these lives, I'm going to share on YouTube, so you can go find them there. My YouTube channel, Sandile, which is my first name, Tukani, which is my last name. That's me on YouTube. Where can you learn about these systems? Hey! No. Tomorrow I'm not going live. Tomorrow, I don't think I'll be able to. I'm going to be extremely busy. If I go live again, it's going to be Saturday in the evening. 8 or 9 between those times, yes. But yeah, you can just give me a follow if you can. You can subscribe if you can. Subscribe on my YouTube. If you have questions, feel free to ask the questions. What was your question, Luki? Hey, there's so many comments here. What was your question? Before I drop, because I'm gonna drop now. I'm gonna drop. Oh no, I haven't left you hanging there. Kuta. I've actually found some information there. I found some information on Kuta. I know there's information about those people, by the way. The Kuta people, there's information about them. Nakindi. I will say it. I'll share it on my next live on Saturday, which is tomorrow. I'm doing a live. Would you kindly just remind me during the live? But I found the answer to your questions. So is Swahili distinctly no Swahili I mean is African. Swahili is African, but it has also like strong Arabic influences. It was a lingua franca with Arabic speaking people. It was a lingua franca with Arabic speaking people, so it's not purely African, and therefore it cannot be the language of Africa. Anyway, we spoke about this. Hey guys, I need to post those lives. We spoke about this the previous lives I've had. Swahili doesn't even come close to having the richness of sounds that we have in Southern Africa. There are no clicks in Kiswahili. There are no lateral fricative in Kiswahili. The name Mandla doesn't exist. The sound Ndla in Mandla, which is the alveolar lateral, voiced alveolar lateral fricative, it doesn't exist in Kiswahili. So the language itself is a very new development. It's not thousands of years old, based on the level and complexity of sounds that exist in the language. So it is African for the most part, but it is a lingua franca, which means a couple of people came together and the language formed. And therefore there are strong non-African elements, or let me rather say Arabic elements in the language. They are strong. I mean, names like Rafiki, Habari, come on, man. What are those? What are those things? But there are words in Swahili that are African, like Inwele, Udevu, Maso. You see, so we cannot discount that. We cannot remove that. When someone who speaks Kiswahili speaks, sometimes I can hear without even knowing the language. Like if they're asking you how old are you, I can hear that. Where did you grow up? I can hear that. But then sometimes some of the things you can see, this is Arabic straight. But it is, the foundation of Kiswahili is definitely African. Guys, I'm gonna log off now. Follow, subscribe, YouTube, Sandile Tugani. This is Sandile Utukani. Uhlathi ujambasa ucanze usanza uhlanga omvelweni. Thank you, boss. Ndimuphala ngezandla. Ndimuncagala uyibeke etyeni ityiwe zimbovane. Ndingowa kwamayikana, ndingowa kwavibisa. Ndingowa kwarhwala emgodleni. Ndithekwa ngomlembe entabeni ngcola ngomhluzi amanzi ekhona. Ngikhamba ngemuva etasi. Ngikwa kwagiqa emajwe. Ngizalwa ke ngumanzi othunyeleni umaphanga ungqalo ongqake ngqanqa sinoxoxo qhamuwele. Uwobe phambili impunzi kasemva ngumnyana ethunga ntombi yasemanzothweni. Oyini bafazi bensika izilentsholo nayiphazama nithabatha isidoda ngoma lihlatyelwe isifazi. Siba nkulu kayuthu untaba kahila unabile umntu usiqaso somile zona zintshaba. Inkomo zikambiko zikamancamu zikamlawo. Hey, that's why I am. Bye bye guys. We'll talk next time. I think Saturday.